Welcome everyone to Wellness Healing Circle podcast or YouTube or whatever channel that you may be watching this or listening to this. Today our topic is getting a bird's eye views on our life, our perspective. And here with me, I have my co-founder, Wellness Healing Circle co-founder, Crystal Tan, life purpose coach. So my dear friend here, she has been through a lot, and been to a very rock bottom that me myself cannot even imagine. So let's hear about how you use this method and how you bring yourself out of your rock bottom using one of these tools called the bird's eye view visualization. Or you want to introduce yourself just?
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Reiko. That's a very sweet introduction. And hi to everyone who is listening to us. Thanks for supporting us. I hope you hear something that is very beneficial and useful to you in this podcast. So I was definitely before the pandemic, I was stuck in this job that I was just I just felt so stuck. I felt very lost, very purposeless. I just didn't want to be there anymore. But then I also didn't know how do I get out of it. The future was so uncertain. It was so bleak. People were getting retrenched. So one of the tools that was very useful to me that I felt was this thing called the bird's eye view visualization. So essentially what it is that because my current situation was I was stuck. Like you imagine you are is surrounded by four walls. You are just in four walls. That you can't see an ending, you can't see an opening, you can't see a road, you can't see anything because you are just stuck and constrained between all these walls. So when you're unable to see what is going on, what was helpful was like the bird's eye view, which is what you do is you zoom out. Imagine you just zoom out from your current situation. You imagine like there's a bird looking down at you, but actually you are that bird, so that you're like flying up there, and then you're looking at yourself. And so at least for me, like when I saw myself at like when I saw the four walls, actually I realized it wasn't just four walls. There was a whole world beneath those four walls, or outside of those four walls. I just need to find a way to break through one wall. I just need to get out of the wall. Like I didn't feel as stuck as I was. But this visualization, it takes practice and support and a lot of meditations, to feel more confident in doing it. And what I really, and another way of seeing it is like from like the universe perspective, like from God's perspective. Like sometimes, if you feel like I don't know whether I'm doing my purpose right, I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing, you imagine that like God or your higher power or the universe or whatever God or spirituality that you believe in, you imagine that source is looking down at you, and that like source consciousness knows everything already. The answers are all with source. And you imagine like that higher being looking down on you, like you when you imagine that, like what do you see? Like we all come up with different, because we're all different, so we all have our own different answers. But at least for me, what I saw is that like the higher power out there has a purpose for me, and I am actually already living that purpose. I'm already on the path. It's just that sometimes my ego thinking mind is like, oh, you are stuck lah, you are trapped lah, like you can't do this, you can't do that. So I think definitely this bird's eye views perspective, the tool, it was definitely very helpful for me. And once I did it, I realized actually there are a lot of options out there, and I felt really I felt more calm and more safe and more confident after I did that visualization. Yes.
Okay, so when you say that you can see that you are stuck in the four walls and you bring yourself out of the four walls, bring yourself out and look at it at a higher view. But how do you see that glimpse of opportunity or the glimpse of hope, because you are so trapped in the four wall. And even though you bring yourself out, how do you see that glimpse of like a small door, a small crack in those four walls that makes more opportunities or more possibilities in life?
I think that kind of boils down to expectations. So if I expect, okay, I want a very high paying job, I want the best relationship, I want a happy family or whatever, if I set the expectation, most likely it's more difficult. If I let go of all my expectations and I'm open, okay, I'm open to what the future is, I'm open to my next step. I don't know what that is. And it's true, sometimes I really don't know what my next step is. But if I'm open enough to see that there are different opportunities, different possibilities that could happen, then I think that is essentially helpful enough.
Okay, so now I see that those four walls are built by our own expectation and maybe the beliefs that we had from the past. Like growing up the past, we built a certain wall that limits our growth or limits to who we should be. So the four walls from childhood, from a child, we already built this belief system. So this is my concept of like what you say, the four walls that is limiting us from breaking through. So by breaking down, like telling ourselves that maybe all this belief system isn't working for us anymore, it's not working for me anymore, and it might not be true. So a breaking down of all this belief system is like breaking down the four walls. So I can imagine like the wall starting to collapse. So
Yes.
is that like how the visualization is like going to be?
I mean, I would say it's it's very hard to just break through from one visualization. So it's always
Mm.
a small step by small step process. Okay, but back to what you first said, right? Like, I mean, definitely when I was young, I had so many limiting beliefs. I think, like the wall was so thick you can't even bulldoze your way through it.
What are some of the limiting beliefs that is so thick?
I mean, like, like school, you need to score all A's, like the best people all have the highest grades. That was very much what I went through when I was studying, and I didn't like studying, honestly. So I didn't do well. So I thought, I wasn't good enough because my grades were not A's. My grades were simply not good enough. So it means I must not be good enough. And it wasn't just my parents, it was, the school system, the teachers, my other classmates, society, at least in Singapore anyway, that was my belief. So yeah, I mean, I kept on having this belief that I wasn't good enough because I wasn't academically smart.
Mm.
Yeah. And then so that was my belief. So in response to the second question about the walls being thick, right? So one way is to just question, like when you're at the bird's eye view, you can question, like, okay, because it's very scary to just break away that belief. Oh my God, what if I'm wrong? Right. So one safe way is to question. So, okay, if I'm wrong, what will happen next if I'm wrong? But you're still in a safe space. And maybe like the walls, because I think walls are there to protect us.
Mm.
Sometimes we just tend to like get stuck in this. We just want to feel safe, so we just think, okay, like, it's safe, like, let me stay in this wall, like, it's very safe. So one way is to, maybe it can still be there, but maybe it can be a lot thinner.
Mm.
We can see a bit better while still feeling safe, like instead of maybe so thick, like maybe like just bulldoze a bit at the end, like make it a bit thinner and make it a bit more flexible. So we have we are still in control, because we mostly think that we are afraid we're not in control, right? So we are still in control, but it's more flexible if we try and thin the walls out. I don't know, you know what I'm trying to talk
Yeah.
about.
So how many practices like this do you need to take? How long do you need to bring down this very thick wall to flexible to translucent and slowly breaking down to flat, like flat on the ground? How long
I
does it take for you?
Okay, I mean, by the way, I wouldn't say it's entirely flat right now. Like sometimes the
Yeah.
world still comes up. So I mean, I would say, whenever you feel stuck, I think it's this, like, meditation healing is always an on journey. So whenever I feel stuck, I would do the meditation, because yeah, every time we pass one stage, another stage comes up. So I will just do it whenever I feel it's necessary. But however, in my very early days, when I felt completely alone, completely lost and confused, I did it every single day. So it depends on where you are in your journey lah. Yeah.
Yeah. I see it as being like an observer. So when you bring yourself out of yourself, like the ego self, you become an observer to your circumstances, to your challenges, to your thoughts and limiting beliefs that is keeping you stuck. So it's like Buddha being like Zen, not detachment from everything, detachment from yourself even. So I just listen to a perspective that there's a self and there's a deeper self. So the deeper self is the one that observe, or you can say the higher looking at yourself. A lot of self lah, but it's a deeper self that is looking at yourself in a different perspective. So it's very interesting that at first we are not aware. We think that we are one. We are just our body, our mind, our thoughts and emotion are all one. Like this is who we identify as like ourself, me and mine. But actually, interesting fact that there is even a different self. Yeah, do you want to explain more about
I think
your perspective of this,
about the higher self, right? Like our
our deeper
so-called
self?
our lower self is like our ego, and then our higher self is like our soul, or our spirit. And I like what you mentioned about the being the observer. Like when you observe your thoughts, I think when you observe, you don't judge. We tend to like judge ourselves so much. So when you put yourself in the observer place, you're being more mindful, and I think more curious in that aspect. And like what you mentioned, you can also imagine it's your higher self to do the bird's eye view perspective. You can imagine it's your higher self that is looking at your lower self. So it's still yourself in essence. But then it's like, and it's also like your own journey and your own experience. Like, what does your higher self see? Yeah.
For me, I have a different kind of imaginary self, deeper self, like higher self. It's like we have a soul, like just in the middle of our heart, in the middle of our body, and it's kind of like in a controller room, in a control box. But sometimes the thoughts and emotion and the physical body just take over, and this this soul inside you are trapped in this box that has no control, but it wants to be let out, it wants to shine. But all the external circumstances, the physical body and the mind body is taking control so much that the inner soul can't get out. So this is just my imaginary, instead of higher self, it's like, oh, this is trapped lah. The soul is trapped in our heart. Our heart is here. I don't know what chakra is it, but heart chakra is trapped here. And it is just waiting for the time, the right time to be, to let out of like the cage. So I would always see as awakening as being being free from a bird cage. Yeah, then when you let out, you are in tune with like the surrounding, and you will attract more abundance.
That's an interesting perspective. Well, I guess not to worry. I mean, I read somewhere, and one of my spiritual teachers said that your soul will never judge you. Your soul
Mm-hmm.
will never be angry with you, because the purpose of, like, life is to just experience. So even if you are, like, just stuck in which we all are, like, we're all stuck in ego identity, that's completely fine, because the soul is very patient, and the soul just wants to experience itself.
Yeah. So when you say ego identity, because some of our, maybe the new listener that is new to this topic, they will be thinking that ego self is just like, or being arrogant, being selfish, being angry, or just very selfish to one another. Yeah, that is my past meaning of what ego self is, just being like narcissist, arrogant, selfish. So would you, what was your meaning of ego self?
Yeah, actually, I get what you mean. Like, last time, oh, that person is so egoistic,
Yeah, so
right?
ego, yeah.
Guys are so ego. And I always thought like ego was like quite a negative word.
Mm,
Like, oh my God, I have an ego. Oh no, I'm not supposed to have an ego. I think that was that was a big misconception. Like, I thought, oh, I'm not supposed to have an ego. I'm supposed to be like an angel and fly in the air or something.
that's
Um,
right. Ego is
yeah,
like a negative connotation.
yeah. And yeah, even I myself I thought that for a very, very long time. Like, I should just push away my ego. I shouldn't have one, actually. Then, I mean, when I went through it, I guess what I learned is that, like, they all say, like, like, the ego is your personality. And interestingly, your ego is also your child self. Your ego can
Mm,
also be your inner child, because it's like it's mine, like a
mm,
child, like, oh, it's all
mm,
mine. Yeah. So I guess in my experience is, like I said, I didn't want to deal with my ego. So what I
mm,
had to do, deal with my own ego. But in dealing with my own ego is actually um understanding myself better, actually. I think when I um accept, or like process, or like go through, like, my egoic self, and which is going through all the the parts of yourself that you don't want to see, which is shadow work, in
mm,
another topic, another podcast later. Shadow
mm,
work is
mm,
thing. Like, when I go through, then I realize actually the ego is part of me, at least in this physical form anyway, because it's my identity. Like, all the things that has happened, or I feel, or I think, or I want, is essentially me. Like, I
mm-hmm,
am one person. I am an identity.
mm-hmm,
And there is still I think it is more, I think that ego thing is called more like false pride. Like we all need to have pride, we all need to have our ego, but I think when it becomes too excessive, or too selfish, or too over the ends of the extreme, then maybe it becomes like what we were all initially afraid of. But when we learn to integrate, with our ego, and we learn to balance it, whenever we have to balance it, I think it's actually one of the most wonderful journeys for me, because I actually understand myself better when I integrate, and when I heal my ego self. So at least that's my perspective anyway. I think a lot of people got different
mm.
perspective on what self is, but that was my experience, and my journey, and what I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So for my understanding of for my journey, I often try to practice the separation of the ego self, like separation of the identity. Like sometimes the identity will keep us stuck. Like certain identity will keep us stuck. Like you must be a filial child, you must those typical identity that the society tell us that we should be. So there's always a questioning of like, hey, who am I? Like, should I be this person? Should I be like this? Should I identify myself as this? Or can I just be neutral and be open and looking at just different different viewpoints? Yeah, because naturally I like to just listen to other people's perspective, learn new things. So my character, my personality is to merge with people's viewpoint or just understanding their world. So sometimes I feel that I can be multiple identity and I don't have to be me. It's just a complicated one because I'm a Enneagram type 9, so I can feel the energy of different type of people. So I feel that I don't have to be one. So I always question like, can I shift my identity? Can I change my identity so that I can be someone else or step in someone's shoe and just be that and attract the abundance from that person? Just choosing another ego. Yeah.
What do you think if actually like like mentioned like all the different parts are all actually you, and then
Mm.
it's about, so maybe it's about the situation. Let's say maybe this ego part fits well with this situation, then it comes up, then maybe another ego part with that situation. I think when you integrate all the different
Yeah.
essentially you, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all have little parts of like different person. Like whenever we are connect or disconnected with a person, like a person may trigger us emotionally, feeling annoyance and frustration. That part is also in us. Like if we are connected with like-minded friends or partners in relationship, that part of the person is also in us. So I guess it's different range, different levels of like the parts that is in different in each of us, but it's just different intensity and how you want to express that part in accordance to like what you say, the situation or events. And by knowing the parts that is in us, because I feel that we are all one, right? For me like, we are one with the universe, we are one energy. So the bottom line, we are still the same, we are still one. So I don't know where I'm going about this, but yeah.
Yeah, we are all one, essentially. So have you thought about oh, so that's interesting. So maybe you can, how do you think you can use like the bird's eye view visualization to see your different egos?
um can use that to reflect at the end of the day, like your interaction with people,
Mm.
on what type of ego comes out when you are interacting with different people. For example, what ego comes out when I'm like interacting with my mom, because um usually mom are just maybe a bit annoying, ask you to do things, do fix this one, buy this one. um so what type of ego comes out, what parts comes out when you are interacting like with your loved one, with your parents, and what type of ego comes out when you are interacting with your
Mm.
friends. So using a reflection at the end of the day to just see, hey, did I present a different parts of me throughout the day? So isn't that interesting that I'm not just a single personality, but I can have portray different type of ego, different parts with different people.
Yeah. And then if you also want, you can go deeper and ask why, like why
Mm,
this why this personality in my friends, why why am I reacting this way? If you want to go deeper, lah, which can be more interesting also. Lah.
yeah, that's a deeper one. But I use that when I find somebody is triggering me.
Mm.
So like 1 year ago, when I'm not so conscious about myself, I'm easily fearful and scared about people who are energy sucker, and I feel frustrated by being with them. So I think I have shared with you guys before that I don't know how to deal with it. So the question that I was asked is to ask myself why. Why is this part of like frustration, ego, um, present itself in this relationship with this person? Yeah. So yeah, it's like I understand that that person is also in me, and I can feel that I don't want to be, weak or seen weak. And I just put my expectation also on them that, oh, he or she should accept, be more open and accept. So there's a lot of like, when you ask the question, a lot of answer will come out also. So it's very
Yeah,
interesting to see like, oh, I put certain expectation on this person, that I expect him or her to behave a certain way according to what I want. Yeah. So
yeah,
so when they are not behaving a certain way to what I think they should be, then I feel like annoyance or frustration towards this person.
yeah, like what you mentioned, I think it's good to always question why this, why that. And then usually at the end of it, we find out we are the source of our own problems. Like not happy is, oh, because I'm this, like it's actually us that's creating the problem. But all good. It's all about self-discovery and self-journey, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a long journey. It's not going to be an easy one. It's not going to be rainbow and unicorns when you are going through the self-discovery or spiritual awakening. I've cried many times, break down many times. I think so do you, right? In this like challenging self-discovery journey.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
Yeah,
in
so
closing,
okay, we will just end our recording and podcast for the bird's eye view visualization. And this is what we are going to do in our Heal Your Inner Child and Thrive in Your Purpose 21-day journey.
journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
want
So
to share a little bit what is it going to be about?
yeah, so I mean, if you guys are, like interested in the bird's eye view visualization, like I thought things are one very useful tool out of many, many useful tools in the journey. Yeah, I mean, do feel free to sign up and join our heal your inner child and thrive in your purpose, because it's very important. I mean, like once you find that inner child within, and then you're constantly healing your inner child, you are able to find your purpose, and then you won't feel so stuck anymore. Like I remember, like, just you just feeling so stuck, and then you just don't want to feel stuck anymore. So at least for me, like healing the inner child and doing the tools and the visualization was one step
Mhm.
that I took to find my purpose. So yeah, I mean, if you're really interested, please check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we will put in the link in whichever form that you are watching this. We'll put the link down below, and sign up there. You will see more description about what this 21 journey is about. Okay, thanks Crystal for coming in to our podcast, and we'll have more conversation like this.
Can't
I
wait.
hope to share with more people about this kind of spiritual awakening conversation, self-discovery conversation. Like we need more of this.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah. Thank you
see
for starting this. Thanks for initiating this.
yeah, see you guys in our next episode. Bye.